through it. So yeah, my nails
Perfect. You see,
are showing that
the nails are part
I
of it.
have been through it.
You have. Hello, world, from whichever time zone you're catching me from. My name is MD90, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification to all so that you do not miss any upload that comes up on the channel. And I have a friend of mine here. I just found out that she changed her name. Who's that?
Who is this person?
So let's start with the name change. Would you like to share that story?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a dream. So my name is still Martha. I still go by Martha. Um, it's still on the documents. On my legal name is Martha. But I had a dream once, and God was calling me Hadassah. In the dream, He was like telling me what to do and just having like a normal conversation with me. And He was like, "Hey Hadassah, would you like to do this? Hey Hadassah, do that." And I was responding, not like, God, that's not my name. I was responding like I knew that that's my name in the dream. So when I woke up, I'm like, well, God calls me Hadassah. So why am I going around not being called Hadassah by other people? So
The name change.
that's how I changed my name, but I have not legally changed my name yet.
You're still debating about that
I,
one. All
no,
right.
I actually just, it's just such a hassle.
Yes.
So I will change it eventually. I just need to summon all my courage,
For you to,
and
and the
then I will
documents, you
go.
have to change a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, because I also own a company, so that
Yes,
also
so that's
that
okay.
it's a lot
So,
of.
no, we can be calling you a dancer, but you can keep the
I will
documents
keep
safe.
I will keep Martha. It's just that it's a lot of explaining to do. Like when we went on the mission trip, we were somewhere in Botswana, and everyone, my team, everyone knows me as Hadassah. And then we gave our passport because we were going on the boat ride, and it's international water,
The
so we
recent
had
trip
to.
or
The recent trip in Zimbabwe, I mean in Botswana, so we were on the boat ride, and then we had to give our passport because it's international water, so you have to carry your passport. So they were registering our passport. So I gave one of my teammates the passport, and he's like, "Your name is Martha," and I'm like, "Yeah." Then why do we call you the name that we call you now? I'm like, it's a long
It's a long story.
story.
We're not going into
He
that.
was so confused because he's like, your name is Martha, and I'm like, yeah. And
Who are we dealing with here?
I
What?
try to act normal. I'm like, yeah,
Brush it off.
yeah.
It's not a big
It's
deal.
not a big deal.
It's
It's
an
just,
idea.
Hadassah. Yeah, that's my name, Hadi. Just
But as
yeah.
we were chatting, you reminded me that you were kidnapped. That's one story that I wasn't ready for. Wait, what happened to you?
Yeah.
So give us a scenario, like how the day started, and pretty much run us through
Yeah.
what you can remember.
What I can, because it's an
It's a
interesting.
triggering.
It is quite triggering. But I have had a lot of therapy, and I have come to it makes it easier every time I speak about it. At least that's what my therapist said. And it's not only like she said and it has not happened. Like ever since she told me, she's like, tell your story. Every time you tell it, it loses its power over you. So my day started normal. I'm a I buy stuff for people. So I was going to buy stuff for one of my clients. There's a place called Dragon City. We were there today. You saw the snipers.
I think that's not featured in the conversation, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if we started in the car or it was
Yeah,
at
we
Dragon
started in
City.
the
I
car,
don't
and when you
remember.
saw the police,
Yeah. Then we were like, oh no, Dragon City is very safe, blah blah blah, and the snipers. But I was like, oh, and by the way, I got kidnapped.
the way you brought it up, just like, oh, it happened. I'm like, yo, wait,
You know. No, yeah. So I went to Dragon City. Dragon City is very safe because obviously it's secured. But people, obviously the criminals, know that everyone that's going into Dragon City has money and everyone that's going out of Dragon City has money. So what I do, I Uber in and I Uber out because for security reasons. But this time, just like 5 minutes walk from Dragon City, there's a shop, there's a wholesale where we buy school uniforms, and I needed to get a quotation for one of my clients. So I was like, let me just walk there. So I'm walking there, and the taxi starts approaching me. So what taxi is, like I explained to you, is like when they come, they see people, they hoot at you. If you're going in, you say yes. If you do not want to go, you nod your head and they understand and move along. But this time, this taxi was very persistent. Like they kept hooting at me, and I'm like, "Sir, I am not going." And then I was just turning to enter into the street where the wholesale was for the uniform, and then this taxi just comes like on my side, they opened the door in broad daylight. By the way, this was like around 11 o'clock.
There are people watching.
People are watching. People are thinking it's a taxi, because it was a taxi, but it was not an actual taxi. Um, they open the door and they pull out a gun and they're like, "Get in." I get in. There's three men inside. One was sitting at the back with me, and two were in front with the driver and the other guy on the passenger seat. So they got everything that I had. I had 5,000 cash. I had bought goods worth 3,000, and I had my iPhone 8 Plus. They took that, took everything. And then we drove around, and then they started asking me who else can we call and ask for more money. Then I was like, okay, you can call my sister Kim, and I gave them my number. They used my phone actually to call my sister. Then they called her and hey,
This
your
is happening
sister.
still in the car. You've reached the destination.
No, we were driving around the whole time. So they did not stop at all time. We were just they were
What is all
just
the
driving.
transaction
The
happening?
whole thing they were driving. So at some point they even made me like sit in like a fetus position and like face the ground, not look at
Do you
them.
remember how many there were?
There were three.
Yes.
So I
And the
was with the
driver?
back with one, the driver, and one was in the passenger seat. Both of them, all of them had guns. Well, at least I only saw the passenger one, the one on the passenger
One
seat.
that
He
was
had a
sitting next to
gun, and the one that was sitting behind with me, he had a gun and he had a knife. So they were pointing the gun at me. They were pointing the knife at me. So yeah, when I got in, I remember I was just screaming, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus," and then the guy is like, "Shut up! Don't say that name." And I remember I was just I started to repeat it in my heart. And when they put me down to like sit in the fittest position, I started hearing a song in my spirit. I didn't tell you this
No,
part.
you're telling the full story. I did ask all
Yeah,
the
no,
juicy
I'm in
parts.
details now. Yeah, no. I heard someone singing. You know, like when you're thinking to yourself, right? You can hear your voice in your head, but I could hear, but it was not me. And this song was singing, "Worthy is your name, Jesus." To this day, every time I hear that song, I cry. I like break down. It's like I get so emotional, but Jesus just had me the whole time. So I'm like shaking, I'm crying, and they're like, "Shut up, don't cry."
Or you're
What?
crying out loud at this point.
Yeah, I was crying out loud. But I wasn't saying Jesus out loud. I was repeating Jesus in my head because they told me not to say that name. Um, so then at some times they're nice to me. They're like, "No, just cooperate.
This
If
is
your
when they've already
sister,
called your sister at this point.
they've
Oh,
called my sister now. We're waiting for her to send the
then
money."
they're being nice.
Then they've been nice. They're like, "Oh no, we're gonna let you go. All we want is money. We're not even from Joburg. We're from Newcastle. Blah blah blah." They speaking to me, but they were speaking. So they were speaking to me in Zulu the whole time. And they were like, "No, we've never been to Joburg," but they were speaking Joburg Zulu. Then I'm like, "You're lying."
You're giving me this the story. They will go around.
They give that story. So then now we were like just still traveling with them. And then the next thing they're snapping. He's pulling out a knife, pointing it on my neck. So it was very unstable. I didn't know
More
if
like
they're
you're
gonna.
bipolar.
Yeah, yeah. It was weird. So then my sister managed to get to the bank because they wanted her to make like a deposit into my account because they had my card. So she arrived at the ATM at the mall, and then she told them that she's about to make the deposit, but she wants to make sure that I'm still alive, so she would like to speak to me. So they gave me the phone, and then I spoke to her. I'm like, "No, I'm fine. They haven't hurt me. They didn't touch me. They didn't do anything. I'm okay." Then that's how she was like, "Okay," and then she did the deposit, and then they turned off the phone, removed the SIM card, and that was it.
You're watching this.
I'm watching this.
So the time they went to withdraw the money from your account, so you went with them? Or how did that
No,
go?
I was in the car though. I was in the
They just
taxi
asked
the
for
whole
the
time.
pin.
They asked for the pin. They asked for my pin.
Yes.
And then so the deal was if when my sister sends the money, they're gonna drop me off at Carlton Center in CBD. Do you know Carlton Center? Sorry, I should. Well, we were not in town a lot, but it's a very big mall in town, CBD. So they said that they're gonna drop me off at Carlton Center. So my sister and my dad, when they paid the money, they tried to call them back, but then the phone was off. They turned everything off. So my sister and my dad actually drove all the way to Carlton Center, and they were just
Second,
looking
then they found out that
around
you
to
had already
see
been
when,
deposed.
yeah, if they go. but they didn't take me to
Okay.
Carlton Center. We went and just drove around, and
This is after
then
they've been paid now.
they've been paid. And then we stopped like at like a center. I don't know. I could only see a little because I was sitting at the bottom, and they told me not to look around. But then I would like peep a little bit, and I think we were at the center. So one of them got out and went to get the money. And then I saw a group of policemen actually passing by the taxi. And I was just screaming to myself, I'm like, help me. But they didn't even look. That was horrible. That is the worst experience. Like you can see people that
Yo.
can help, but then they don't even know you're in trouble at all. Um, yeah, that was rough. And then we drove around some more after they got the money, and then we stopped. And then they were like, get out. So then I'm asking them to give me my phone.
So this is around still buildings, or this is in the bush now?
It was in the bush. Now we arrived in the bush because now they took me to the bush. So we've arrived at the bush, in the bush, and then they told me to get out of the car. So I get out of the car with one of them. The two of them remain to stay guard at the main road, and then I enter the bush with one. So he's pushing me, and then we reach like at a certain place where like it's quiet. There's no one there. It's like quiet, and then he tells me like start walking. If you run, we'll shoot you. If you turn around, I'll shoot you. So just walk slowly. So then I started walking slowly. Then I heard him clock the gun like, like you could hear the gun like, and then all of a sudden this man appears. He's walking towards me, and as I'm walking towards away from the gunman, towards the guy, to the direction of where this strange mysterious man is coming from. He's walking towards me, and then in the first thing in my head I'm like, can't he see the gunman? And also I'm thinking, can't the gunman see him? And he's walking towards me smiling, and then he walks towards me with a big smile. He looks at me, and then he passes to go towards the gunman. And then after that, I don't hear the gunman anymore. That's when I start to run. I run like, and then I see a garage, and then I run towards the garage, and I'm frantic.
Car garage, or what is this?
And what do you call it again?
Station?
The filling station. So I run towards the filling station, the garage. I run towards the garage, and then the petrol attendant is like, what is going on? Because I was frantic, I was crying, I was shaking. And then I just told him I've been kidnapped. Where am I? Where am I? They're coming for me. And then he's like, let's go to the police. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the police. I just want to go to my family. And they were like, okay, what's your sister's number? And I'm like, I don't know my sister's number. That's why I had actually brought it up on how to memorize people's number, because I didn't know my sister's number by heart. That's actually where the conversation started. So that's how I go to him, and then I'm like, where am I? I'm still at the garage with the petrol attendants. Then he's like, oh, you are at BP Garage behind Orlando Stadium in Soweto. And I'm like, okay. Then he's like, okay, we're gonna call you an Uber, and then we're gonna go to your home. And that's how they booked me an Uber, and I went home. And after that, in fact, the very first day, my sister called her therapist because she has insurance with Old Mutual. So she called them, and they gave me a therapist right away, and I started my session right away. When I got home, the therapist called me, and she's like, what you have been through, you will never be the same again, but do not let fear consume you, because if you let fear consume you, you will not live. And I was just telling her that I just want to feel normal. Every morning I would wake up, and I would be crying, and I would be shaking, and I I was struggling to grasp with reality, because in my head, I even told my therapist, I'm like, in my head, I could hear that the gun when he clocked that gun. So in my head, my brain was telling me he shot the gun. He shot at me. I died, and I'm imagining everything. And immediately that I was struggling to grasp reality, and then it would send me into like a panic attack.
These are mornings or
Mornings, afternoons, whenever I just couldn't. And then she told me, she's like, start talking about it. Start telling your story. So the more you speak about it, the easier it will become. And then I told her, give me something so that I can sleep. Give me something so that I can feel normal. I couldn't sleep. I was having nightmares. I was having panic attacks. I was shaking half the time. I was paranoid. Um, so then I told her, I'm like, give me something because I want to feel normal again. Then she's like, I can give you drugs that can help you, antidepressants, anxiety pills, something. But then you would be so dependent on them, they will be like a crutch. Then I was like, no, I don't want
That's a
that.
solid therapist. She was
She
really,
was really good. I highly recommend.
yeah.
Um, yeah, she helped me a lot. So that's how she was like, tell your story. So I would start. I first started with my family because I had to tell them what happened. Then I was like, I was kidnapped, and
So,
then
so the
immediately I
first person that you're
start.
going to is the therapist. You have not said anything
I
to your
had
family.
not said anything to them. So I would start. I was like, I was kidnapped, and then I would start shaking. I'll start shaking. I would shiver, and then I'll have a panic attack. And then she's like, no, continue telling it. Then the next time I would say it, I was like, I was kidnapped. I was son, and then I would cry, and then it got easier every day. And then now, 2 years later, I can actually tell this story
Without
without
breaking
breaking down. Like whenever I tell it, like even now, like I shiver,
down. Yes,
like
obviously,
I shake whenever I'm telling the story, but it's not as bad
as it was 2 years ago.
as it was 2 years ago.
Oh,
I
we
no
didn't even
longer
tell what year was this. You just said
2022
2020.
in June, but I don't know when in June because my brain um is protecting me from the trauma. So my therapist said that the brain does that when you've been through such a traumatic experience. It shields you because even the story, the way I'm telling it, I was with them for 6 hours, but the details is very. It's not a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
information because my brain has
Has
blocked
blocked out
out
a
a
lot of things.
lot of pieces. So I
And another
only
thing, maybe it's
telling
because
what
they
I'm
kept you in
remembering
that fetal.
fetal position, yeah, until I don't know how long in my mind I'm remembering I was just there like for 5 minutes, but then it was hours because we drove a lot. So yeah, my brain is like protecting me from certain information, so I don't know when um the exact day, but I know it was in June 2022.
And this was in Joburg, yeah, CBD.
Johannesburg CBD, well, outside Mayfair, because
Okay.
Dragon City is in Mayfair. So yeah, and a testimony at this, every year on the anniversary, June was known to me as the month that I got kidnapped. And now this year, I went on my first mission trip in
In June.
June.
Wow, that's a lot of guys. And not just one country. Two, is it three
Three,
countries? Zimbabwe,
Botswana.
Botswana, Zambia.
And now June will not only be known as the month I got kidnapped, now it's the month that I went on my first mission trip. God is good. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, it isn't.
It's
It is.
definitely not
It
a
isn't.
coincidence. God is just
Yeah, they
like,
are going to still be alive because I know those guys don't
no, they
usually.
don't. And they put they clocked the
Yeah, that's
gun
America.
ready to pull the trigger. If it wasn't for that mysterious
Serious
man
head person that
that walked through the in the middle of nowhere
we wouldn't be having
in the
this
bush, I wouldn't be
conversation.
here today. Everything they took, I could replace,
Definitely.
but my life, my integrity was
And the
secured.
fact
God
that
made
they did
sure.
not touch you, that's
The
another.
fact that they did not touch me, not a lot of people can say that. I was alone with three men with a gun and they did not touch me. And when Mavic City's song came out, He's in the Room, I cried actual tears because they were like, go ask Daniel if the our God will give you up, for he will testify. He shuts the lion's mouth. Go ask those Hebrew boys. If they'll sit by your side, they will identify. The fourth man in the fire. There were three men in that car, but Jesus was the fourth man in that taxi, not a car. So yeah,
Amen.
amen,
No, thank you for sharing your story with us. I know
amen.
it's not easy. I can
No,
still see it triggers some emotion.
it,
But it helped a lot that you went to you
yeah,
just brush it off to say, hey,
no,
this happened.
no.
And,
Therapy is important. Sometimes you think you're a Christian, you don't need you need it. I needed God, and God used that woman to help me go through this. So therapy really helped.
oh, thank you for the time. Do we share the other story of our experience today, or we leave it for another day?
I think we can sit down tomorrow and then
And yeah, yeah,
we can have that.
yeah.
But stay tuned because wow, wow, oh my God,
It's been a day.
it's been quite a chaotic day. But I
Anyway,
hope you had fun though, despite
obviously
it
I did.
all.
It's you that
I was the one who was being
give it to me.
harassed.
Anyway,
I'm like, what?
you
What
guys
in
stay
God?
tuned.
Excuse you, sir?
Excuse you, and it's not happening.
I'm like, no,
But anyway, so
absolutely
guys,
not.
stay tuned. This story is for another day. We just wanted to tell you this version of the story now. And this is Adasa. She's told you. You guys are supposed to call you Adasa. The other name is for the government.
Absolutely,
So you
absolutely.
guys can call her Adasa. So we're in Johannesburg, and we are in the CBD area on, and that's why where this story came up because when we were moving around, she said, "Oh, actually, she's thinking like a by the way thing." I'm like, "Wait, what happened?" You can't just mention such a big thing and you go like, "Oh, this happened to me." Yeah. So that's how
Yeah.
that came about. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you around. Make sure and it may help someone who may not know.